So you join me on Thursday 2nd of April in the UK, and I just wanted to talk about what it's like for UK businesses this morning. What we have to say first off, obviously, is that being in business and struggling because of the financial state of the country, because of the lockdown, is nothing compared to losing a loved one in death, and our condolences go out to everyone that is in that situation, or indeed is very ill because of the coronavirus, and therefore the worry and the anxiety that's associated with that, having loved ones who are not well. We just want to say that the businesses, you go into business with the expectation that you'll do okay, but there is always the reality that a business can fail at any time. But given the current situation, where the government, central government, has promised to help businesses out, they're saying that they've passed the money on to local government. Local government doesn't seem to be getting round to sending that money out to where it's needed. So, it was the beginning of the week. We were told all the local governments had the money issued. There isn't even word on that from local government. They've not even made mention of when they're going to help businesses out. So, that being the case, like we're just passing what is usually a very busy pub, and they do breakfasts and everything, so they're normally quite busy even at this time of day. They're closed. They've been closed for 2 weeks now, and that's got to hurt. That's got to be crippling financially when you've got a big pub, you've got big overheads, and they don't stop. They really don't stop. They're just the overheads keep coming at you regardless of whether you've got income coming in. And as a garage, we're allowed to open, but the situation for us is, while we're allowed to open, and we had the first week we had 5 days work as normal, very quickly you start losing customers because they don't want to bring their car in, because why take the risk of an unessential journey. And then you've got the situation where inquiries so far this week, and there's always today, there's always tomorrow, but so far this week we've had 2 bookings. That's 2 jobs is not enough to keep you going. So things are starting to look very quiet from next week, and we just wonder what the situation will be in another 1 or 2 weeks time, when the work that's already booked is drying up as well. So it's looking pretty grim for businesses, and like we said, we don't underestimate the fact that it is just a business. It's not a human life, and you have to put these things in perspective. But you replicate that across the country, for all the small businesses, even large businesses, I would say, are starting to probably struggle if they're not able to work. Then that looks pretty dire for the economy. In the States, they're already saying that it could be 30% drop on this quarter. I would say it'd probably be even worse than that, because nobody's working. There's business here to my left, and they're not open. As you go through the sort of on my route to work, only a few miles, but the amount of business is open, you could probably count on one hand. It's just everywhere is shut down, which is good from the point of view of controlling the virus. That's amazing that people have taken that on, but it is looking very grim, and it's you know, there's hardly any traffic on the road. So there's just past one car, and they will just tell you when the next car is. There's just nothing out here, nothing on the roads whatsoever. Normally, if I came to work at this time in the morning, this road would be solid with traffic because there's a school on the left here, and I'd have been queuing from the last set of traffic lights. And now you just drive straight through. That's the next car. So, you know, normally this road would be absolutely solid both ways, and there's nothing out here at all. There's a little corner shop there that's open. On our route so far, I think that's probably the first business that's open. There's a chip shop and sandwich shop here closed down. There is a post office here that's open. There's a garage a pub that's closed, garage that's closed. It's just so quiet. There is no traffic at all. So we looking at it from a business point of view, you know, it's getting to be unsustainable, and that's the problem. It's getting to be really unsustainable to say we're going to stay in business, and with no help in the form of the grants that have been promised, then, you know, most businesses will go under probably within 2 months, and I would think some businesses will be a month. It depends what your situation is. If you're you know, got finance on things, then you're going to be worse off because your overheads are so much higher. If you haven't got finance, then you've just got usual overheads of maybe rent or a mortgage on a property that you're using for your business, and then the normal utility bills. You're probably able to survive a little while, but it's still going to be very tight. And the trouble is, you look at how quiet things are now, and the vast majority of people have had their wages cut. You know, even if they're on the promise of 80%, 20% cut in your wages is quite dramatic. Okay, you maybe not going out and spending so much, but that's going to impact for quite some time afterwards. So businesses like ours, where we're a service industry, and we, you know, doing car repairs and servicing, people aren't going to spend their money straight away on their car. They're going to try and make it last a bit longer, and it'll only be the essential work of MOTs that people will get done. So that means we'll be quiet for maybe 6 or more months after this finishes. So we could have 3 months of lockdown, they're saying. It may be longer, depends what the situation is. But 3 months of lockdown and then 6 months of being quiet is going to seriously affect us. So it's a concern. It's a real concern, and like we said, you have to put it in perspective. You know, it's not that we're suffering the loss of a loved one or anything like that, which would be far worse. And you know, as business owners, there is always the reality check that, you know, you're only as good as this quarter almost, and next quarter could always be the quarter you go under. That's always the case, and you're always sort of up against that. So you know, this just might be the quarter that happens. So we have to face it. But now we're in a queue of cars of 2, and normally up to this set of traffic lights I'd be, well, before now it's been over the motorway bridge, which is quite a way back, so that's really quiet. Again, this section of the bypass normally from about here starts queuing, and you'll just see how long that takes to get to the roundabout, where the queue would normally be just trying to filter into the roundabout. So we're now doing 50 mile an hour on a road that we would normally be just stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, all the way down. And there's just nothing. There's nothing at the roundabout queuing, waiting to go on. And yet this would normally be stationary. So you can see it is incredibly quiet. Incredibly quiet.